All right, only 5 people now have joined, so we're going to wait until we get a few more people, just so we can give this thing a formal kickoff. And we're losing people already. Hey, thanks, Sue. Tune into the game tonight. So, do we have any of the extended fast people on yet? All right. Well, I was just going to say, as soon as we hit 25 people, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll cover a few maybe less interesting things before I get into the meat of stuff. Just that way we can let more people join and I don't necessarily have to answer the same questions. First off, progress on the Serious Keto website is going really well. By probably, an hour or two after this is over, I will have all of my recipes uploaded that I've made videos on so far, and I can start working on putting in some of the articles and reviews and things like that. But I expect to be fully up and running by October 1st. In terms of the site itself, very clean. I really tried to make it the way I would want if I were going to look up recipes. So, as I've indicated before, there's no pop-ups. There's no 6 pages of scrolling to get to the recipe. The recipes, I think, are fairly nice and tight and clean so that they print out on a single page without pictures, without ads, all of that stuff. So hopefully that's something that you all will appreciate. Patty, I have been fasting now. Okay, I got to do the math backwards. 94 hours. So 95 hours, sorry. So 5 more to go, and then I get to break my fast. So in terms of the fast, progress has been pretty great. This morning, I weighed in the lowest I've weighed since college. So that's 154.2 pounds. I am down 8.4 pounds as I was part of this fast. And, so hopefully this weekend I can behave myself, eat some clean keto. And on Monday, I will do a follow-up video because usually you have a little bit of a bounce back in terms of weight after the fast. And then a couple days later, it goes away. So hopefully I find myself on Monday still at 154 or, maybe 153. And I'll explain why 153 is a magic number to me in a subsequent video. Other stuff going on in terms of my stats from the fast. Blood glucose this morning was at 60. Ketones were at 5.2. So according to the Keto Mojo site, I am smack dab in the middle of fasting ketosis. Blood pressure was great, 110/76. My heart rate was a little bit elevated. I don't know if, my body sort of senses that it's a little bit in distress. Also, I find that in the mornings, my heart rate is a little bit higher and it gradually declines over the course of the day. But overall, feeling good. I have not had really any issues with hunger, although I am feeling some strength issues. I've been trying to do this 30-day plank challenge, work my way up to 5 minutes. I had been up to 3 minutes as of Monday. On Tuesday, I could only do 2 minutes. On Wednesday, I could only do 1.5 minutes. And I muscularly felt too fatigued to go on. So I'm going to kind of put a hold on the 30-day plank challenge for a while. Aside from that, feeling great, but I am very much looking forward to starting to consume food again, and more so to start cooking again and making videos. So, yes, Robin, once the site is up, I will embed that in all of my posts, including links to the recipes so that you can get printable recipes immediately. Now, one of the things too, last time we did one of these live chats, it was kind of hard for me to see where the questions were, where people were just talking to other people. So if you have a question directly to me, if you type serious space keto and then your question, it will pop up with a little orange indicator for me, and it makes it a lot easier for me to see. So if you do that, but only if it's a question for me. If I ask you guys, like, what do you think? What's your favorite keto food or something like that? Don't type serious keto in front of it, because then I'll just get confused. So Shannon Riley, what did I drink? Mostly water. I would have maybe 1 or 2 mugs of green tea per day, unsweetened. And then also on Monday and Tuesday, I made my apple cider vinegar tonic, which is 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, a dash of ground cinnamon, a dash of ground ginger, 12 ounces of water, and and usually a squirt of stevia. I did not do the stevia because I didn't want to trigger any sort of an insulin response that might take me out of autophagy. I had that Monday, Tuesday, forgot to do that yesterday. Maybe I'll have one later on today, but I mean, right now with 5 hours to go, it's not that big of a deal to me. Next. One of the things that I kind of want, hey, Cut Tooth Room, glad you're in here. Performance Nut Butter is being a little bit slow on the when I can release that video of the Boots and Chemo sauce. So apparently their owner is traveling or on vacation or something, and he needs to come back and give it the final approval. But the public relations department said it looks great. They want to release the video on their channel before I can release it on my channel. However, I've added a little additional content for mine that makes it extra special. Patty, how will I break my fast? I'm going to break it intelligently this time. In a couple of the previous instances, I was really excited to get back into food. And as a result, I think I dove face first into some chaffle pizza and maybe a cheeseburger on a, keto-friendly bun. And it didn't treat me well going through, if you know what I'm talking about. So this time it's going to be bone broth with some extra collagen peptides in it. And then for dinner, I'm looking at probably some steamed broccoli with olive oil, probably some, ideally something fermented, maybe some homemade sauerkraut or something like that. Also, I know that one of the foods I really should be eating, for the nutrition and the fat and everything, is sardines. And I've never been a big fan of them. So I thought if I eat sardines as I'm coming off the fast, anything is going to taste delicious, and maybe I can develop a little bit of a taste for that. Brenda asks, what were the side effects? Aside from sort of just a little bit of muscular fatigue, and not a lot, I guess, there wasn't a whole lot in terms of side effects. I'm a little bit cold, so if I seem nervous, it's actually because I feel a little bit chilly down here in my man cave office. And, I don't know if that's a result of the fast or if it's just a result of me weighing 75 pounds less than back when I used to just sweat all the time. But to me, I mean, I'm alert. I feel like I have a lot of energy, but when I try and work out, not so much energy. Aside from that, not a big deal. So Shannon asks, do you find almond flour goodies can make you gain weight? I don't know. Honestly, I don't snack a whole lot. So if I'm making any sort of recipes for cookies or desserts, I'm making them specifically for the YouTube channel. And usually then I count on, my non-keto family that I count on my recipes being tasty enough that my non-keto family will eat them. Because I just, typically I either do a 20/4 fast and limit my eating window to like from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., or I'll just do one meal a day. And as a result, there's just, I don't snack on a whole lot. All right. I think I've hit all the questions. I feel pretty awesome. I'm staying caught up here. Buns for burgers and such. No, I mean, I've been tracking my ketones and weight and everything ever since I started this. I'm kind of a data geek. I like seeing the correlation between what I eat and how it affects my blood sugar and how it affects my glucose. And I have only been out of ketosis 3 times since March, and each of those times it was a choice that I made. Once when I was testing the Keto Mojo blood glucose and ketone monitor, because I wanted to see the effect of going out of ketosis, if it would read me both in and out of ketosis. And 4th of July weekend, and then a trip that we made to Chicago to go to Rick Bayless's restaurant, Topolo Bampo. But all 3 of those were decisions that I made. My regular diet, including eating hamburger buns made out of almond flour, have not had any effect on me. Love your chaffle recipes. Great. I'm so grateful to all the people that leave the comments for me. You are just giving me material to work with. I have both a spreadsheet and then a file in OneNote with recipes that people have provided that said, oh, you should totally try this. And I've got over 100 potential videos lined up just from all of that. So there's definitely going to be more chaffle videos coming in the upcoming weeks. Expect some stuff using the chaffle bowl or waffle bowl maker. There's all kinds of things coming. We're going to start getting into some cookies too. I know I said that I personally don't eat them very often, but Christmas season is coming up. We ought to be able to have some keto cookies that we can enjoy. And I had a Instagram follower submit a recipe to me for a pound cake that I made that needs some work. I didn't love it. It was a good starting place, but I actually believe now, after working with the Performance Nut Butter, and this is not a pitch for them, but a couple packets of Performance Nut Butter in this guy's recipe, I think would add just the right amount of moisture and extra flavor that it's currently missing. So there'll be some pound cake coming up soon as well. So Diane asks, what is your favorite hamburger bun recipe? I haven't found it yet. I've tried a couple that I've seen, out on the web that frankly, I think I hate making these accusations, and I never ever want to throw shade at another keto cook and provider of recipes. But I looked at the pictures on this website, and having had about 25 years of artisan baking experience myself, I thought, that's not possible with non-grain flours, at least in my experience. And I made this one woman's recipe 3 separate times because I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was me making a mistake. And 3 separate times I got hockey pucks. I mean, they tasted all right, but they were not, they're not what I'm looking for in a hamburger bun. I want something a little bit more robust and not as dense. Then there is another fairly popular YouTuber with an Australian accent. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to throw shade. And, he made these buns, these hamburger buns. I tried them again 3 times, did not get the same results that he got. So maybe it's just my lack of familiarity with, keto baking and that will improve with time. But I'm pretty sure I followed those recipes to the letter. But the long answer you just heard. The short answer is I'm going to keep working on it. I would love to create a really solid hamburger bun. In the meanwhile, it's probably going to be between a couple of chaffles. Have you made chaffles without cheese? I have not yet. Mainly, I'm from Wisconsin. Everything's got to have cheese. And I'm not sure what would be the best sort of substitute for it, but it's something I've had a few requests for, so I'm sure eventually that I will do. Is there anything that you can use in place of eggs in your chaffles? So if you're talking entirely, there was actually an article, and I can't, obviously give you the link, but it was within the past week or two on the site food52.com that talks about various things you can substitute for eggs. So it might be worth shooting out there and taking a look at that. It's part of my plan at some point to see if I can do an eggless chaffle. I'm assuming it's an allergy thing that you don't like eggs, because if you don't like the taste of eggs, you can always look at my video, the chaffle for chaffle haters video. Have you tried Vital Wheat gluten and rapid rise yeast? So yes, this particular hamburger bun recipe that I did had a load of Vital Wheat gluten in it, and I can't recall if he used inulin or something like that to activate the yeast, but I've tried it. I think it still needs some work to really get that taste, that yeasty sort of bread taste. I'm also looking at a combination of xanthan gum and guar gum. According to modernist cuisine, those two have a really nice synergistic effect for creating a chew. Additionally, the xanthan gum can help retain air, so that might give the crumb of the bread a little more airiness, a little more lightness. But it's something I need to experiment with. Moving on. Dry chaffles, egg whites. Could you use heavy whipping cream instead of cottage cheese in the sous vide egg bites? I imagine you probably could. I haven't, but I've used heavy whipping cream in scrambled eggs, and I'm not sure you would probably wind up using a little bit less just because of the consistency, but I would think that would be entirely possible. So Jeannie says she's tried making chaffles without cheese. They didn't get as crisp. If you keep them in the chaffle maker long enough for them to get crisp, they wind up dry. So that'll be something good to be aware of. In terms of activating the yeast, yeah, you can use honey. The yeast should consume all of that, leaving you essentially at a zero net carb position. I've tried honey. I've also tried inulin, which is a completely zero carb right from the get-go sort of. It's not a sweetener. It's technically a sugar, but there's no carbs because it's 100% fiber. All right, I think I've caught up with the questions. So a couple of things, just so you can know a little bit more about me. And my plan is probably the cadence for these live chats to be maybe every other week. I think that feels about the right amount. There's some people out there that are live chatting all the time, and I just, I'm hoping that absence makes the heart grow fonder. We'll do them like every other week. And I'll try and have, one or two topics that I can ask all of you about and get your input, so it's kind of more interactive that way. So one of my goals in starting up this channel, Serious Keto, was first and foremost, don't be annoying. It's kind of like the Hippocratic oath of YouTube, first do no harm. Some of the things that I personally find annoying that I am going to try very, very hard not to do are, first, making 20-minute videos that ought to be 5 minutes long. That just drives me nuts. And my son kind of summed it up best. He said, Dad, I will never watch a video that's longer than 10 minutes, but I'll watch 10 5-minute videos in a row. So I'd rather try and keep things relatively brief if I can. If they are going to be longer, I'm going to make sure that it's a lot of content, that you're getting, 6 chaffles or multiple products reviewed. There's a quote actually that I love from Stephen King, which is, the delete button is on your keyboard for a reason. And I find that there's a delete keyboard or a delete button also in your video editor. So there's certain things you can leave out. Next, and I talked about this as it relates to my website, web pages with the pop-ups and that make you just scroll through the entire history of the chaffle before you get to a recipe. You are not going to get that on mine. You're going to get a couple pictures. You're going to get the prep time. You're going to get the ingredients. You're going to get the directions, and you're going to get the macros. And if there's any special ingredients or products that I used, there will be links to those at the end. Nice, tight, and clean. The next thing that kind of bothers me is and I've seen this on websites. I can't say that I've specifically seen it on YouTube, but when people are putting on food pics that obviously are not what they just made. An example tends to be some of the bread stuff. I see these rolls and things like that, and I know from experience that's not what they made. That is not a keto roll. And in fact, one of them on, the best keto bread you've ever had recipe, I clicked on the picture and it took me to the Pinterest site for King Arthur flour. And then I went back to the King Arthur flour website, and it was a picture for one of their actual bread flour products. So here you have a person literally taking a picture from the King Arthur website that is flour bread and saying this was their low carb recipe or their keto recipe. So that really bothers me. You'll never get that from me. My food photography may not be the best, but it's legit. The other thing that I've seen, and I've seen this a bit on YouTube and I've seen it a bit on the web, is the plagiarism of recipes. In fact, I got accused of that on the corn tortilla, and I kind of took exception to that claim just because of my feelings on plagiarism. And if you look at this particular person's recipe and compare it to mine, it's fairly obvious that I didn't copy anything from her. But I have seen instances where, and you can check this out for yourself. Go and Google keto English toffee, and you will find no less than 4 different websites using the same recipe with the same typo in it. So one of them was first, and the others just copied. And it's also on the Swerve website. So I don't know if, maybe Swerve did it initially and the other people just copied it and didn't give credit, or perhaps one of the people that had it on their website submitted it to Swerve and it was a user submission, so maybe 2 of them you can count as being legit, but then there were a couple others that were just straight up copies. I've also seen some instances on YouTube where people, have lifted someone else's recipe. You go and you look at a recipe and you're like, oh, that looks very similar to the Keto Connect recipe. And you look and they're the exact same. Now, granted, some of these things have limited amounts of ingredients, and eventually people are going to wind up stumbling onto the same thing. But one of the things that I also promise you is anytime I use someone else's recipe, or anytime a viewer even makes a suggestion, hey, I have an idea, try out this, I give credit for that. And you can see that in the videos that I've made so far. You'll continue to see that going forward. The last thing, and then I'll come back to the questions that have scrolled by. 1 second here. I needed to do my Marco Rubio pause and have a drink of water thing. The keto police. Now, you've probably noticed on some of my videos that they show up and say, oh, that's not keto. You can't have whey protein on keto. You can't have baby corn on keto. You can't have Oh, the Quest protein, that's got sucralose in it. You can't have that. All of these things in what I consider to be fairly minor and insignificant amounts, certainly nothing that's going to kick you out of ketosis. And they decide that they want to police that. If they want to live that life, to me, that's okay. It's like veganism or atheism or, pick your ism. Whatever you want to be, that's cool. I'm totally cool with that. Live and let live. But, don't come into my house and start talking smack, because the reason I create some of these recipes, I would far rather have people be 95% clean and be able to get that occasional treat and be able to stick with keto and enjoy the health benefits of keto long term, because they're not sticking to such a hardcore, fanatical definition of keto. So that's my philosophy. When I describe serious keto, I'm serious about cooking. I'm serious about cooking low carb. I'm serious about staying in ketosis, but I'm not going to be super duper militant when it comes to keto. And I use the word militant in one of my responses to somebody. And this was one of the fairly polite people that got out and left a comment. And he kind of bristled at the use of the word militant and suggested that maybe I had used it by mistake. And I did not use that word by mistake. Militant, means sort of radical, hardcore, combative. And when people are coming and leaving posts that are all caps and lots of exclamation points, that's kind of how I take it. I mean, you're coming into an environment where you are clearly of the minority opinion and then shouting at everybody else. I think it fits that definition. But on the bright side, every time they come back to my page to yell at me in all caps, I'm getting like 0.0013 cents of ad revenue. So, they're funding the channel. All right. So now I can scroll back and look at some of the questions. So, Phil, we can still be friends even though you're an Eagles fan. Greetings. Love the length of your videos. Great. Do you ever eat low-carb flour tortillas or gluten-free bread? The problem is, even though they're labeled low-carb or gluten-free, is they still tend to pack an awful lot of net carbs. And given the flavor of them, I just don't like burning up, a third of my net carbs on something like that. I've tried like the Ezekiel bread, which isn't horrible. I mean, it's not delicious, but I think that's like 12 or 11 net grams of carbs per slice. And I'm not going to burn up half of my net carbs, my daily net carbs on a slice of bread. Dash grill, can you do the chaffle in a grill? So Hattie is asking, can you do the chaffle? Is it a grill or a griddle? Because I know they make a panini maker. I have actually done chaffles. I guess they're not chaffles, they're chan cakes in a griddle maker. That's one of my videos. And I took the Keto Connect microwavable bread and put that between a couple of slices of cheddar in the griddle, and that was pretty scrumptious. In fact, I used that as the bun in the Cubano sandwich recipe that I have. Rhonda says, that bread is the best ever. It's from Deirdre's Kitchen. I didn't see which bread that is. Name that keto wine, please, asks. That's way too long. Ends with Maui name. So, yeah, I've got some wine. Typically, if I'm not fasting, the wife and I generally split a bottle with dinner every night. I stick with dry whites and dry reds and have never been knocked out of ketosis. I find, though, if I do any more than about a half a bottle, now that I weigh 75 pounds less, I feel kind of rugged and I don't sleep especially well. So do try and keep it in moderation. So, yeah, Diana, honestly, I've, through drinking bourbon while on keto, while drinking wine, while drinking tequila, while drinking vodka, never to excess, I have not been kicked out of keto once. So, um, your mileage may vary. All right, so here, I think I'm caught up on questions. I'm sorry, I keep shaking the camera because I put my feet up under my desk and then it shakes things. And that's all right. Diana says I'm just going by Dr. Ken Berry. That's fine. I let everybody. We're all adults. We can all make our own choices. What we eat, what we drink. I find that this works for me. Hasn't knocked me out of ketosis, and I'm feeling good. Cut Tooth Room asks, besides the upcoming pound cake recipe, any other recipes you are excited about making? I've got a lot of I've got a lot of recipes that are sort of chaffle and chaffle variations. Obviously, I don't have my spreadsheet up right now, but I had a YouTube user ask me. She said, "The thing I'm craving more than anything is a pistachio pudding," and I've got an idea for that. And it kind of comes from the suggestion that Cut Tooth's Room gave me for the Boots and Chemo breakfast sauce, which I found once you refrigerate forms essentially a pudding. And it's basically a macadamia coconut type of pudding that's really great. And I thought, well, I can just make some pistachio butter and then create a pistachio pudding out of it using a similar technique to what I use for the performance nut butter. So that's one that I'm kind of excited about trying. There's still things, I'm looking to make a better pizza crust. It would be nice to create a really good cinnamon roll or cinnamon roll chaffle. I'm trying to create one where perhaps I use two different batters and then maybe a piping bag or just a Ziploc bag with a corner cut out and making some swirls. So visually you get that sort of cinnamon swirl on it. I think that would be fun. And okay. So here's something, and I am probably only going to go about another 10 minutes. I felt that last one ran a little bit too long. I'm surprised people watch the replay. 55 minutes of me talking. I can't imagine. I mean, certainly my wife has no interest in listening to me for 55 minutes, but maybe you're new to my voice or something. One of the things, and Keto Connect did a little bit of a video on this too, which is talking to other people about being on keto. And, I'd like to hear or read, I guess in this case, some of your thoughts or experiences on that. It's a weird thing. I don't know why people look at keto as somehow this, bad or evil thing. When I went in and had my annual checkup a couple of months after being on keto, and my weight at the time was already down probably 40, 45 pounds or more. All of my lipid profile was spectacular. My blood pressure was good enough that he was ready to start taking me off of blood pressure meds. He walked into the room, he shook my hand, and he said, "Congratulations. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." And I said, "I'm doing keto." And he just made this face. And I would guess that he's probably 70 pounds overweight and could very much use some keto himself. So, that was one experience. I also, at my daughter's high school graduation party, I saw a lot of friends and relatives who hadn't seen me, since I was a lot heavier. And again, they're like, "Oh, you look great. What are you doing?" And you say keto, and they start bringing up all of the, well, what What about your blood pressure? Blood pressure is great. What about your cholesterol? Cholesterol's great. Well, don't you have keto breath? I don't know. What do you think? Smell anything? No, I guess we're fine. Keto crotch, keto rash, whatever. No, I'm doing fine. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt. And once all of those arguments fail, it seems like they fall back on, well, I just believe in everything in moderation. So that's been sort of my experience. Um, am I at the correct weight? Uh, do you mean if I'm at the weight that I'm targeting? No, I've actually got 9/10 of a pound to go before the weight that I'm targeting. Am I at the right weight? I feel good at this weight. It feels nice. Although I am looking forward to starting to up my calories, get a little more protein and a little more fat in terms of my macros, and get back into lifting and see if maybe I can fill out some of this loose skin that I've got now with a little bit of muscle. Let's see here. I think I'm gonna delete a couple comments that aren't all that awesome. So, Jason, I'm going to recommend that you Google what is keto crotch. That was something that just came out or was an article a couple months ago, and it's not a guy thing. So, if you want to look that up, I'm not an expert on non-guy things. So, Gene, the face that they make, yeah, it's funny. They're. I made a joke on the Keto Connect page that I got tired of telling everybody that I was doing keto. So now I just tell them instead of meals, I do heroin. And it ends the conversation a lot more quickly. They just say, "Oh, well, you look great. Where can I get some heroin?" Oh, something popped up and then went away here. So Alan was part of the fast, made it to 72 hours and stopped. 72 hours is no joke, Alan. It takes some work. And I'd like to know, did you feel it more physically or more psychologically that you needed to stop? Because I honestly, having done a 44-hour fast and a 72-hour fast, and now this one, I don't really feel it physically. I mean, my stomach periodically growls. I'll have a drink of water and I'm better, but psychologically, I'm feeling all right. Well, Jason, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. That's one thing you. So, warning: if you don't want to know what keto crotch is, don't Google it. Uh, some ways it's political. So, I should stand up. Why should I stand up? You want to? There's nothing to see here. Uh, so yeah, I think a lot of people. Well, we've just been inundated with so much information over the last 30 plus years about what's healthy and what isn't. And this is why things like hydrogenated fats were created. This is why we've got more low fat products than ever before, yet a higher rate of obesity before. And you can only hear things so many times before you start believing it, and it's hard to sort of shake people out of these notions. So when you say this is what keto is and these are what my macros are, naturally it just sort of alerts people to, oh, what you're doing is bad, what you're doing is unhealthy. But I think eventually people are going to catch on. All right. Oh, stand-up comedy. All right. I thought you, Matt. I don't know if it's Troyes or Trois, but said I should do stand-up, and I thought he meant I should like stand up, stand up. Um, well, one of the things I tried to pride myself on as a corporate trainer when I'm training adults for 8 hours is trying to throw in enough jokes and pop culture references to keep people alert. So maybe that's where that comes from. So I'm just going to take a couple more questions and then I'm going to wrap this up. Where there's this some repeat sort of questions. What do I consume on my fast? Again, it's just water, green tea, and I do an apple cider vinegar tonic. If you want to know what that is, just look up apple cider vinegar tonic, and you'll probably see Thomas DeLauer's or Dr. Nick Zarowski's videos pop up first. I'm doing that just without any sweetener. So 0 calories, zero sweetener, 0 insulin response. Do you think you will gain weight after the fast? Yes. Tomorrow I will probably weigh more, but what I have found is usually within 2 or 3 days after refeeding, just eating regular clean keto or mostly clean keto, I am back to the end weight at my fast. So I'm at 154.2 today. I expect I'll probably pop up tomorrow a bit just because there's nothing, in my whole digestive tract right now. But my guess is that by Monday, I'm back to 154 again. So that's why I'm going to wait until Monday before I do my summary video on the fast. What keto videos do you watch? I kind of bounce around a little bit. I find that there's some that if I watch too much, I kind of start to get my fill of them. For sort of the science-y and medical stuff, I watch Thomas DeLauer, I watch Dr. Eric Berg, I watch Dr. Nick Zarowski. For the cooking channels, first off, I really honestly try and avoid those as much as possible, because until after I've made a given recipe, then I'll go and I'll look and I'll see how someone else did it. I don't want to be derivative and take from someone else. And if you got two people sort of independently thinking about how to do a given recipe, you're going to come up hopefully with two very different and interesting things. So I don't generally get out on other cooking videos. I did early on before I started my channel. And honestly, a lot of the videos out there that I found myself looking at kind of broke the rules that I'm trying to adhere to, like way too long videos, kind of annoying personalities in some instances. I'm sure there's people that find me annoying. So I'm not saying that they're annoying. I just say that I find them that way. Two, though, that I just keep going back to, I really like the videos by Hungry Elephant. They're short. They're kind of like the tasty type videos. They're short. They're to music. So if you don't like the music, I guess, hit mute. But she, in my opinion, really knows her keto baking. And one of the recipes that I'm working on, somewhere between a shortbread and a snickerdoodle, came from her scone recipe. I tasted her scone and I'm like, ooh, this is like 80% of the way there to what I could make into a cookie. And so credit to her on that when I release that video. I also really like Keto Connect. And I think it would not be an exaggeration to say that they are what really sort of pushed me to keto. I was really kind of debating as I was going through the standard American diet, what should be my long-term solution? Should it be vegan? Should it be paleo? Should it be carnivore? Should it be Whole30? Should it be keto? And I spent about a week just glued to my computer monitor, binge watching all of their videos, and realized that it was going to be keto for me. So I owe them a debt of gratitude because they're the ones that really kind of pushed me. Well, they didn't personally push me, pulled me, I guess, into keto with their videos and their commentary. So those are sort of my faves. Karen asks, have I tried Zevia, stevia sweetened soda? No, I have not. I'm not a soda drinker. Is it good? Does it have caffeine in it? Because if I'm going to drink something liquid other than water, I want to make sure that I'm getting a little punch out of it. So yeah, hey, you're able to tell how tall I am, good looking just by me sitting down. That's pretty good. You should go work at the fair and do like the guesses of, weights, height, and age. So, yep, 154.59. Nailed it. Marcella says that should be a t-shirt, mostly clean keto. I've said this in my comments a few times. I like my keto the way I like my martinis, just a little bit dirty. The cat's back? Oh, yeah. And man, she just goes to town when she's cleaning herself. She was really hogging things the last video there. All right. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. Cola flavor has caffeine. All right. I'll keep that in mind. I'm going to wrap this one up. The next video is going to be a bit of a long one that I release tomorrow. My daughter and I try out 16 different sugar substitutes. And the video is like 15 or 16 minutes long, which breaks one of my rules, but it is sort of nonstop trial and testing. And you'll get to see, especially my daughter, make some really dramatic, yucky faces as part of that. In terms of next week, we're going to have the summary of this fast. We will have, we will answer the question, can you bulk make and freeze chaffles, and what's the best way to reheat them? That will be a video, and I'm not sure what the next one will be because my wife screwed up one of my science experiments related to a kitchen hack with strawberries that keeps them lasting longer. I put them in 2 separate containers and I labeled them, and she still ate them, which totally now sets me back to ground zero on that experiment. So that's probably 2 weeks out. But that's what's up and coming. And I guess the usual end. Thanks for watching.